Hey everyone, this is Ron Watson with Lundinky. I am going to start doing a series. Specifically today, the next 4 weeks, we'll talk about mindset. Now, for the last 6 months, I've felt like the weight of a fractured relationships, not yelling, no chaos, just distance. And the kind of silence can slowly wear you down. It's not loud enough to force action, but it's constant enough to stay with you. It lingers in the background of your day, in the quiet moments, in the spaces between tasks, and in the times when your mind isn't fully occupied. And when it shows up, it brings questions with it. Now, you start replaying things, conversations, tone, timing, the exact words that were said. And the ones that weren't, you wonder if you missed something, if you could have handled it differently, if a different approach would have led to the different outcome. And even when you try to move forward, your mind circles back, looking for clarity that isn't there. That's the part that makes it heavy, like super heavy. And there's no clear resolution, no moment where everything is addressed and put to rest. No conversations that ties it up neatly, just space, fucking space. Now, everything your mind chooses to fill that space with, and over time, that space gets filled with interpretation. That's what hurts you, with assumptions, with emotional weight that really builds quietly day after day after day. Now, I found myself moving forward, or should I say, I found myself moving through cycles, not forward. There were moments when I felt completely grounded, logical, even detached. I could step back and see the solution for what it was. But then there were other moments where it hit again and again. Now, where I felt the weight of it, the confusion, the frustration, the sense of being misunderstood or unheard. And what made it more complex was that it wasn't just about the situation itself, it was about it, how it represented connection, respect, alignment, the feeling of being seen and understood. When those things felt disrupted, it doesn't stay on the surface. It goes deeper. It starts to affect how you think, how you feel, and how you show up in the areas of your life. Now, at a certain point, I had to take a step back, not to analyze the situation again and not to replay it one more time, but to ask a different question, a more honest question. What is it exactly or actually in my control here? And the answer wasn't what I initially wanted it to be. I couldn't control the situation. I couldn't control how others perceived me. I couldn't control what they chose to listen to or ignore. I couldn't control their perspective, their timing, or their willingness to engage. And I couldn't force a resolution just because I wanted one. That realization is uncomfortable because it kind of removes the illusion that if you just think about it enough or approach it differently, you can fix it. But at the same time, it was also freeing because once I accepted that, it shifted my focus. It couldn't control the situation. What could I control? The answer became clear. I could control my internal response. We're talking about myself. I could control how much space I allowed the situation to take up in my head. I could control whether I replayed it or interrupted it. I could control whether I let it in, drain my energy, or whether I redirected that energy into something more constructive. And that shift from external control to internal ownership was the turning point. Because instead of waking up and immediately being pulled back into the situation, I started to become more intentional about how I entered my day instead of reacting to it. The emotional residue of what I hadn't been resolved. I started building structure around how I thought, how I processed, and how I move forward. What I realized that was what I needed wasn't more analysis. It was stability. Stability in how I thought, stability in how I felt, stability in how I responded. Because without stability, everything becomes kind of reactive. Every thought gets amplified. Every interpretation feels more real than it is. Every moment of silence becomes something to decode. Now, once you're in that cycle, it's hard to get out. It's like a there's a bad cycle and it goes and never ends. So that's when it became clear to me that most of us are never actually taught how to handle this. We told things like move on or let it go, but those aren't really strategies. Those are just outcomes. Now, no one really explains how to get there, how to interpret the replay loop, how to separate facts from interpretation, how to regulate your emotional state in real time, or how to build a sense of control when the external situation feels unresolved. So instead of waiting for clarity, I decided to build it. I created a 30-day mindset reset. Not a quick fix, not a motivational idea, but as a structured process. This is something that I faced in my life, in my real life, and I needed something to break that cycle. So structured matters because with structure, you fall back into patterns. So I broke it into 4 phases. The first phase is stabilization. That's where everything starts because you cannot clearly think when you're emotionally activated. You can't reframe something when your nervous system is still reacting to it. You can't make grounded decisions when your thoughts are being pulled in different directions. So the first step isn't solving anything. It's really about calming everything, just calming down. So interrupting the replay loop, separating facts from interpretation, regulating your body so your mind can follow. These are constant reminders and things that I have to tell myself. So from there, the next phase is detachment. We are letting go of the need to control outcomes, letting go of the need to be heard, to be right, to be validated in that moment. Not because those things don't matter, but because holding onto them in an unresolved situation only keeps you stuck. Then comes retraining, taking the same situation, but changing how you interpret it, moving from this is happening to me is happening to me to this is something I can grow through. Finding the edge where discomfort turns into awareness. But then finally, rebuilding. So, anchoring a strong identity, defining how you want to show up moving forward, expanding your focus beyond the situation so it no longer defines your mental space. This isn't about ignoring what happened, it's about not letting it control you. Because the truth is, the situation like this doesn't always resolve on your timeline. Sometimes they do, mm, sometimes they don't. But your ability remains steady, grounded, and clear. That's something you can build regardless. And that's what this 30-day reset is about. It's not escaping the situation. It's not pretending it doesn't matter, but learning how to carry it differently with less weight, with more control, with a stronger internal position. Now, I will say that this isn't about um, what what I can say this series is not. It's not about, blame. It's not a therapy talk. It's not revenge, suppression. This is internal leadership, is what it is. Now, why this matters, it's unresolved emotional tension really does three things. It drains our energy, it lowers our confidence, it narrows your world. When your internal position improves, your posture changes, your tone changes, your presence changes. And sometimes without saying a word, well, that's a dynamic shift, really. So for the next 30 days, I'm not fixing anyone else. I'm not upgrading my internal state. If you've if you've been carrying something unresolved, this is for you. Day one starts with stabilization. And so going forward, what I plan to do is I plan to talk through those things. Now, I'm doing 30 days. Like every day, I am doing something to grow. And my first thing is to stabilize. I don't want to get heated. I don't want to react to things. So I got to retrain my brain. And I promise you that if you do these steps, that it may not be overnight. It may not be tomorrow. It may not be like in a week, but you've got the ways to change and create mechanisms in yourself where you create internal control. And that's what this is about. It's about enhancing, it's about changing, it's about improving your mindset for that internal control. Now, I can say that um, that you know this is something that you'd want to do, something you might find useful, and I will go over step by step, and also able to quantify. It's not just words; it's like giving a scale so you understand how this impacted me. And if you understand that, then you can actually maybe use this as a tool. And what's nice is going forward is I'm going to be doing different podcasts, different series, whether it's on diabetes, whether it's on art, whether it's on financial stability. And everything here is to help grow you as a person, grow you as a player, grow you as a musician. And I would love to hear from you and see how this impacted you. Anyways, thanks for everything. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.